Thandiwe Newton, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight into it. You know, when I first heard that you were going to be part of making a film about an election that was stolen, about people who felt like they were robbed, about a democracy that was under threat, I was like, are you doing something about America? And then, no, the information came out and I was like, no, this is about Zimbabwe, a story that I've been following almost my whole life because of South Africa's proximity to the country.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that immediately.
Yeah.
This is a story not just about Zimbabwe, but about democracy as a whole. And you decided to tell it. What inspired you to go, this is the moment to tell this story?
It was frustration more than anything. I've been a human rights activist for 2 decades. Activism very often comes out of suffering, personal suffering, or certainly witnessing the suffering of others. And that was, both those aspects were true for me. And I have been fighting for the rights of women and children. And I realized recently that I've been a spokesperson for people all over the world except for Zimbabwe, my own home, because I feared the political backlash.
Wow.
And what happened in 2018, 2019 is that I realized that this isn't about politics. This is human rights. And this is about the future of humanity.
Right, right.
Because the work that I've done in Congo, similarly, it's a framework that we can see all over the world. You talk about, is this America? Well, yes, it is. It's happening in Zimbabwe. It's happening in Congo. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in the Middle East. It's happening everywhere. This imbalance, this knowledge of where power rests, and an inability for that to be shared amongst everybody. So to see my fellow Zimbabweans being devastated, and it's been going on a long time, and we thought Mugabe, you know, the release of Mugabe,
that was a big thing in the story.
Fate. Yeah, yes,
that was a big story.
There was so much hope.
Yes, a lot of people saw the story of Zimbabwe, and here you had a leader who, you know, like many other leaders in the world, came into power with really good intentions, it seemed at the time. I mean, you see the story unfolding in so many countries where the people who fight to free a country are not often the people who are best to lead that country when it is free.
And look, this is what Chimiza is currently saying. Nelson Chimiza, a young politician in Zimbabwe who is Mnangagwa's opposition. Mnangagwa should be happy to have a powerful opposition.
Right.
Should, and win, and then you show the country that even with a powerful opposition, you're still the rightful person to lead.
I would love to know how you got the access that you did in this election, because I mean, when you're watching this documentary, oftentimes you watch documentaries and, you know, it's interviews that are predominantly trying to tell you what's happening in the story. In this story, you are in the story. We're seeing what is happening. You know, you're seeing how votes are being manipulated. You're seeing how precincts are reporting one person winning by 300,000 votes when there are only like 100,000 people who live in that area. How did
you also see that there's access by one party and none by another.
Right, but how did you get the access into, I mean, because Zimbabwe has been notorious for very long and that the ruling party, the ZANU-PF, has said, no, we're running our elections, we've won, and that's none of your business. So how did you get in and how did you get your people in safely to tell that story?
Camilla Nielsen, wonderful filmmaker, she had already made a documentary called Democrats, which was about Mugabe, and they had allowed her to film, full access, both parties. So here she was. They actually banned her first documentary. Mugabe banned it, with using the same law that they use for pornography, that it wasn't good for people to watch.
Right.
Anyway, and that happened. And then Camilla went on a 3-year legal battle to have Democrats be shown, and she won. So as a result, she had the freedom to continue her work as documentary maker, and all we see in this film is what she witnessed. There's no talking heads.
Right.
She doesn't get anyone to say anything. She doesn't manipulate anybody. One of the things I love about her as a filmmaker, she has it's called a cinema verite. It's a style where you do not intrude on what you see. All you see in this film is what was actually happening, and it is more crazy than any kind of murder mystery, any kind of CIA drama. You cannot believe what's happening in front of your eyes.
You know, when a story like this is told about a country like Zimbabwe, on a continent like Africa, there is a certain apathy that infects people when watching this. They go like, well, that is what happens. You know, they'll be like, well, that's a third world country. That's what happens. You know, it's bound to happen. Of course, that'll happen. And yet it feels like now, maybe because of what's been happening in the US, maybe because of what's been happening in, you know, whether it's Brexit or Ukraine, or it feels like there is a different understanding of a shared threat if people are not careful. What is that idea? What do you think people can learn in watching this, regardless of where they live, about democracy?
We are a common humanity. We're a common humanity. And one thing that people will realize is that the people that they see are so like them. You'll recognize that what's happening in Zimbabwe is happening, as I've said, everywhere, because we are all in a fight for our freedom. All of us, whether it's in our business, whether it's at the workplace and you're an actress in the film business, whether it's you're a sportsman and you're trying to take a knee to say enough, we are all fighting for our freedom. And there are microcosms everywhere. Watch or don't watch this documentary, but
no, watch
to
it.
not
Let's go
to
watch it.
not see. Okay, here's one thing. This change doesn't happen fast, and we think it does because we're in a time of incredible media, technology, but the truth is real systemic change takes time. Have faith. Have faith. Feel something. That's the other thing I would say. Feel something. This documentary, others like it, force you to actually engage and feel. We need to bring feeling back into our humanity. I really believe it. And the irony that technology, strangely, it has come from lack of feeling, you know? And it's very often orchestrated by people who have lost their capacity to feel. You know, we know that we're in a world now where there are people that just don't have empathy. It's scary, right?
Right.
But then work with us that still feel, that still cry every day, that still can't turn away from the television. There is a system that currently works. It's hideous, but it's moving forward. We also know that there are people suffering in this system, and there are people cheating the system. If we find the cheaters, those that are suffering will suffer less. And that, it won't happen we can start something in our lifetimes.
That's why I tell people to watch it.
Yeah.
Watch the documentary, draw the parallels to the world you live in, and the best way to say it is feel. Thandiwe Newton, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you here. All right, people, President will be in theaters December 17th, and it will be available on digital in February.